things start off well. There's more agreement, there's more goodwill, both parties wanting the relationship to work. Same for an employment relationship, I would say, a lot of parallels. When they start off, you want the post to work out. However, when things don't work out, you want to be able to deal with it. If you want to reach an agreement, if you want to plan for what happens when it goes wrong, the time to do it is at the start. Frequently they're not in place, and what results is we have more negotiation. The employee, in that case, may have more leverage because of the uncertainty. It could cut both ways, but if they're in place at the beginning, they tend to be more favourable to the employer because they would have put it together. If that's not in place, the employee may well be in a stronger position than they would otherwise be for any negotiations. And it also, I'd say lawyers like certainty, lawyers probably like uncertainties. We can fight about it and argue about it, and it gets more work. But really, we want to give certainty, and as an employer or employee, you want certainty. You know where you stand. We can tell you what's likely to happen. If positions aren't in place, that certainty is far less. I see clients who have been at the company 40 years and they produce a contract from the 1970s. That's common. And I'm not saying that every time they get a promotion they should have a new contract. Ideally that might be the case. But certainly if they're going to get themselves into a position where they're of particular importance to the business, they've got a significance, if they go it'll be a problem. If they're going to get shares and major options, yes, that is the time I think you need to review. So yes, the relationship's ongoing, and this planning and precautions need to be ongoing as well when the time is right. There are, of course, I've heard ACAS guidelines, and there's processes you're meant to follow, capability of warnings and training, or disciplinary, again, warnings and training. When you're at senior level, this tends not to happen. There may have been comments made, there may have been discussions about issues within the department. From my personal experience on both sides, I have not seen someone, certainly at the board level or a senior level, on some formal process. What happens is that a decision is made usually very quickly that this isn't working out, we want shot. And that's where that's where the difficulties in handling it can come. I have experienced a number of recently, certainly from an employee perspective, where there's been a fairly cavalier approach from the employer, which they ride roughshod, which is common at that level, and just basically tell the employee it's not working out, goodbye. And then they come and say, we're trying to get some agreement. So there's got to be some delicacy in how this is handled. My view is that you do it delicately, you want to do it nicely. Now, in some cases, there's been instances where the employer, to justify their decision, has trumped up a lot of charges, or just decided to find everything wrong the said employee's done over the last 6 months and throw it out at the meeting. Such criticism, you're dealing with an individual. You want to be treated as if how you've been dealt with yourself. It hasn't worked out. If you're going to start mudslinging and throwing allegations, the natural reaction, especially from the individual, is to fight back. So what is like to have always been a difficult conversation is just had a lot of fuel added to the fire, shall we say. And where an agreement might have been reached before, you may have just knocked that off the table because you've upset them so much. So these are, agreement may still be reached. These are things that you've got to look at. Treat them as you want to treat yourself. My view, because you don't, in reality, if you've got someone that's not working out, you don't leave them in a senior position where this will be threatening to your business. If you think they're wrong, you want them moved on fairly quickly. What will probably have to happen, I said, we start these relationships ideally with a contract, and you'll hopefully end it with a contract, a settlement contract. There'll be some payment. But from an employment perspective, from the employer's perspective, you want to put yourself in a position as strong as you can for any negotiations. Now, if you just have a meeting and dismiss them, from a claim perspective, you're on the back foot. It's probably almost certainly going to be an unfair dismissal, and if they've got a long notice period, they might be claiming that as well. So it could be more expensive from the employer than it need be. And also from a personal point of view, I've had people come to me at senior level and saying, listen, I don't know how it done. If they just wanted to part the ways, why couldn't they just told me? We could have come to some deal. Again, you've got to be careful how you do this. And there's a term that comes around called protected conversation. Essentially, this is without prejudice conversation. So it's meant to be confidential, so it can't be relied on in court. Now, if I'm on the employee side, I'll be wanting that conversation in any court proceedings. We'll do our best to get it in. So I'd say, well, however you handle a conversation, you've got to bear in mind this may come out later. And these conversations only often apply to unfair dismissal. So if there's a contractual claim, it might be brought up in another set of proceedings. So again, whatever you say, I think you've got to be able to sit back and be comfortable enough, if worse comes to worse, that you can justify it. My view is, in many cases, you do have a conversation with them. You try to have a polite conversation, a decent conversation. You explain the problems, you explain those issues. You may even explain that you may have to go through a formal process. You may give an option that, that there may be other alternatives, and that might invite a discussion. In many cases, when the relationship's not working out, the employee has a fair idea of that as well, and he might be under pressure. So if you can have a gentle discussion to sort of raise the points, but without making commitment either side, you can often negotiate a deal without things becoming hostile. And while this is not always easy, it's it's a lot easier resolving it that way than it is throwing lots of accusations or some brutal dismissal, which is likely to be either costly and more costly in settlement terms, or perhaps emotional terms.